This is a review of Survivor Season 28, Cagayan, Episode 9. The title is Sitting in My Spy Shack. But after this episode of the DBN, a review of Survivor Season 28, we're going to have a new name for the episode. Because honestly, that's a little weak. Like, I get it. Like, but you could have done something a little more creative with the Spy Shack. It is iconic, but, you know, we're going to rename it. We're also going to talk about our stock up, stock down, as well as a little Survivor press conference as we do here on the channel. But Richie, let's recap this episode. Strong episode. Strong episode.
Yeah, very strong.
Top to bottom. How did you feel about it?
You always know it's going to be a great start to an episode when you have a tribal council like you did the last episode where you get a big flip and you got people left in the dust. And I was very shocked, I think, to see that Trish kind of like forgave Tony so quickly. She almost, I felt like, thought that like it was her fault. That
you know, it was
like that's how like much she's wrapped around his finger right now.
100%. And yeah, to get right into it, we're coming off a tribal. We're coming off an episode that we both said, you know, Tony's stock was up because he kind of dominated the whole episode. We get another one where he definitely makes another impact. Really without winning challenges, which is an interesting thing. But he gets back to camp, and when you make a blindside, especially against your own alliance, which not fully against your alliance, usually you have to talk your way out of it. And I actually don't know that he talked too much out of it, but it worked. And it feels like it was, I mean, that seems to be a theme here, that it didn't take much. But I mean, the idea, the lie that like I couldn't tell you because you wouldn't like it, I think is strong. To be like, dude, I had to keep you in the dark because if I told you, you'd probably spiral. And if they agree with you, then they're like submitting to like, yes, you're right. But if you don't, you go, no, dude, you just backstab me. You could do that again.
Yeah, I don't think that like strategy would work on me.
Right.
But for Trish, it worked. So, I mean, good for him.
Yeah, dude. It's like, dude, if someone's capable of doing something once, and again, and that gets talked about later in Tribal as well. And it's funny, too, because they even cut to a confessional of Trish. And Trish is like, look, I understand why you didn't tell me. I was mad at Tony, but I get it now. And you're just like, dang, man. Like, this is such like a
I kind of wish.
go ahead.
I wish we had gotten more from like Cass's reaction. We didn't get a whole lot from her.
Yeah.
Because she didn't know either, but they kind of just brushed over that real quick.
Yeah, and I feel like of, you know, the three that didn't know about it, Cass, Jeffra, and Trish, she's the one we didn't hear most about. Jeffra, we hear those doubts straight up, and Trish, we hear the forgiveness straight up. But you're right, Cass, but also Cass is also quick to be like, no, I'm Team Tony. No matter what, must have been and Spencer gets a confessional too right at the beginning, saying, you know, he said the sooner we move against Tony, the better. And it shows you why, you know, he is a fantastic Survivor player. He gets it, and. Yeah, I don't know, but you
got to feel bad for him that like no one else can like get on board with him.
Yeah, and
at least so far.
And I guess maybe Tony didn't feel that he was safe right away because the morning he gets up and he sprints to his water well spy shack, which is so fun. Dude, even like there is a shot of him just sprinting and the camera like frantically sprinting with him, and it's just like it's the epitome of like this season of Survivor. Like just chaos, but like control. like Tony knows exactly what he's doing, and he goes to the exact right spot, and it works. He does get to a spy shack, and he's set up by the water well, and again, this is another like applaud to the camera crew for not giving it away too much. Like maybe they do always stand far away too in a different spot that feels weird, but you know they're just getting their angles. These guys were capturing, flipping back and forth. I feel like again I would have caught on to that. So they must have been super sharp in
they have to
avoiding that, because like I don't know, I'm always thinking about that. What do you make of a spy? Could a spy shack be pulled off today?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I feel like the only thing though is that I don't know. Yeah, I mean, people like obviously know about it now, where he was kind of one of the originators of that.
Yeah.
But
Hunter was in a tree, I guess, last season.
Yeah,
that was
playing hide and seek. But...
Right. True. But yeah, we do get a tree scene in here as well. We'll get to that. But yeah, like it's interesting because it's a good a good moment for Tony because yeah, he finds out that Jeffra's doubting and Trish is kind of calming him
Hmm.
down, so he does get to realize that Trish is legit, but Jeffra's not.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's like Tony's not necessarily a ruthless lead. Like I think Boston Rob would have reacted to that as all right, let's get Jeffra out then. Like let's get rid of
For
Jeffra. I
sure.
think
Yeah.
um yeah, it would be like if you cross me, I know like yeah, you go against a 6. Q would have done the same
Hmm.
thing. Um yeah, but he takes it as like no, I got to convince these people, which is an interesting take
Hmm.
and is not as the easy route maybe. Like you could turn people mad pretty
Yeah.
quick, but to gain their trust, I think that's a harder thing to chase.
Hmm.
Um yeah, so the Spy Shack. Then we get to the reward challenge, which again a sick reward. Cave barbecue
Oh
picnic.
yeah.
Um, and then just an overall like a boat reward. I think like being in a boat. Like I don't know if you've been in a kayak or something. Too, it can be frustrating. This is not as easy as
Hmm.
it looks. What do you think? What did you make of this challenge?
Oh, I mean, it seemed very difficult for sure. I mean, you see a couple different times they're kayaking and they go right past where they're supposed to go, and they kind of have to backtrack, and they have to be in the kayak. They can't be out of it before they can move on, and it seemed like, I mean, very difficult for sure.
Yeah. Very difficult, but also very like gorgeous too. The water looks amazing. It looks awesome.
Hmm.
Um, but Spencer, Tosh, Jeremiah, and Jeffra end up winning. Um, and yeah, this is a very specific reward, and it was very important because they needed to pull in Jeffra
Hmm. Oh,
and
for
like
sure.
like pull in back. And it seemed like usually, I mean. Gosh, yeah, I guess the rewards it's 50-50 sometimes, but like I imagine that's just such a
Hmm.
bond. And it did seem that Jeffra was like open to it because she was still untrusting of Tony.
Once they pulled the letters from home out, I thought she was for sure in with them.
Yeah,
She seemed like she was down pat for them.
100%. Yeah, she's coming off of not trusting Tony, and I don't
Hmm.
know. I mean, I guess it depends on how you're feeling that day. But what is your percentage
Yeah.
of when letters from home come? Letters from home, not family visits. Letters from home. When does it
Yeah.
hit of like, oh dang, like because I got chills in this one. I didn't like well up or anything, but I was like, oh, and
I feel like
Jeffra's
as soon as
reaction
like
was
they
so
bring him out, you
big.
probably would start to. Yeah.
Yeah,
It was funny because then they go to Jeremiah, and I mean, he showed almost no emotion at all. That dude seemed like he couldn't have cared less that he got a letter from home.
yeah. No, they definitely stuck on Jeffra, but yeah, how often would you say it gets
Yeah.
you?
Oh, I'd say up there for sure. Not as much, obviously, as when they actually are on the island,
Yeah.
but I'd say probably like 60, 70%.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm probably 40-50. It doesn't always hit, but like yeah, some of them. I remember when
Hmm.
they did Winners at War and they did that family
That one
visit.
was, I mean, that was the best one of all time.
That's crazy. That was like pandemic
Yeah.
too and like early pandemic like April 2020.
And the fact they start off with like Kim too, and they're like, here's your whole family, and it's
Oh
just
my
like, oh wow, like they're
gosh.
bringing everybody, not
Yeah.
just one person.
Yeah, and then everyone got to experience Survivor and it was like
Hmm.
Boston, Rob and Amber who like their family is because
Yeah.
oh, come on. Like that one was crazy. And yeah, the time it came
Hmm.
out and like that's probably the best. But this was a good like at least
Hmm.
letters from home. We're not to family visits yet. And yeah, dude, it was cool. Like it didn't make much of the reward again, where it's like, yo, we're in a cave. Oh, I mean, they are scarfing down food, but it's gameplay, dude. This one is pretty hard gameplay because they need to get Jeffra, and it seems like they did back at camp though. Tony, Wu, Cass, and Trish. Um, this is when there's a little bit of stumbling, right? This is
Hmm.
like because Tony comes back to camp, and this is another like part of like you are who you play with too. Like the way you like so basically like Tony and Cass are talking strategy, and Trish
Hmm.
doesn't want to talk strategy. She's just like no,
Yeah.
like and gosh, it's good to have those people around if you want to win the game. I feel like
Oh, for sure.
it's
It
unreal.
makes no sense that you wouldn't want to talk strategy, especially when the other half is out away.
Yeah,
You don't have to worry about hiding it or anything.
yeah. And yeah, Tony's paranoia continues to keep going as he's trying to become Super Tony. Look for his idol. We don't quite see anything yet here, but then
Hmm.
we get Tony or Wu. we get Wu and Trish going on a little hunt for food. Trish drops a little Megan reference, or Morgan. Trish drops a Morgan reference when she sees the giant coconuts. Is that what they were?
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah, I
gosh.
think so.
And
There's something.
then yeah, Wu getting up there won't be his dumbest decision of the season, but gosh, wasn't a great
No.
one there.
Yeah.
But like, if you need food, do you think you risk yourself climbing up there, knowing that? Like, I mean, based on
Hell
your
no.
athletic ability,
No.
not even a little
I'm
bit.
not getting up there, bro.
Not even
Ain't
if
no
you're
way.
starving.
No. No.
No.
There's something on the ground I can eat somewhere.
Yeah, true. Or you could probably just tune out and be like, I don't need food. I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole time too, when he was when they were interviewing him after he fell, all I was thinking of was that surf video where he's like, "A whoopa, did you? A whoopam." That's exactly what Wu sounds like, bro. Just the dumbest person of all time. It
Yeah.
sounds like.
Even like, yeah, I mean, Spencer kind of burns him later when he's reading off his vote later on.
Woo.
Yeah. After all this, we get to the immunity challenge.
Mhm.
Balancing ball while also balancing on a beam. What do you make of this type of immunity challenge?
I like these ones, man. I think they're good.
Yeah.
Feel like it shows who's athletic, who can balance, who's willing to sit there and just stay in one spot, who can control their breath, all that kind of stuff. So I think these are great ones. I feel like they have done a couple of these though in a row now, where I feel like I kind of want more of a variety.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. And I mean, it's hard because I feel like that's when you have 8 people and they're all against each other, you can't have like a giant obstacle course
mhm,
because you have to have 8 people with their big open
yeah,
spaces. You do have to have like, yeah, a stage set where they're hanging on a pole or whatever they're doing.
mhm,
Um, and yeah, it's interesting one. I mean, I don't know. I guess after a couple weeks, it's like maybe I don't have the coffee shakes, but I just feel like I'd be shaky. I don't know that it'd be a problem. And yeah, it's like those things are probably a lot heavier than. But there also must have been a rule about your
yeah,
elbows not touching the side because I feel like you could have just pulled like you know, tuck it in and just
mhm,
hold it out there. Um,
yeah.
but otherwise, I mean, Tosh wins the challenge. Again,
Another showdown though between her and
yeah,
Spencer.
her and Spencer and Wu right at the end there too. Um,
Yeah,
showdown. Them 3 get to the kind of the end, but Tosh wins. And dude, 2 individual immunity challenge is something. Like, dude,
I,
if you get voted out early, but you still had 2, like it'd be like, oh shoot, that's something to hang your hat on. Because not
mhm.
everyone wins the game, obviously.
I definitely feel like her and Spencer have become some pretty uh like unlikely. You wouldn't have thought that they were going to be the two that were kind of running the immunity challenges, but I mean, it's kind of been down to them too, most of it.
Yeah, man. The brains holding it down. Pretty cool, pretty good win for her. And then we get back to camp, and this is again Tony sprinting off, for
Hmm.
an idol. Like, I wonder if they must have saw him do it, but they didn't really show everyone's reaction, right? Because and
Yeah,
like, is there a point like of being subtle, or is it just like get out there and go find it?
yeah. At some point, I feel like if you feel like you're in danger and you have no option, just go. Who
Yeah.
cares?
Well, he goes to a lot of landmarks, which is a smart thing to do. I feel like I would be looking
Hmm.
out
Yeah.
looking out for that. He gets to the this rocket ship tree, and he's like scraping the ground, which I thought was kind of a weird spot. I'm like, I don't think it'd be scraped into the ground. But then he
Hmm.
ends up finding the super idol. The idol that gets played after the vote is read. Of course,
Yeah.
usually it's before the vote. He says, if anyone has an idol, and they'd like to play it now, it's time to do so. Whatever.
Hmm.
Um, we don't. The Super Idol doesn't make too many returns after this season, if I remember correctly, because
Yeah.
little OP.
I personally, I don't like it.
Oh yeah, it's
I just remember because when like when Ewell had his, like he was never in trouble. Like it almost made for the rest of the game kind of boring.
yeah, yeah, no, and this
So
and it,
I don't like the Super Idol.
yeah,
That actually was like my question for Jeff was, Jeff, do you feel like the Super Idol is too powerful?
yeah. I think it
So
must have been, but I definitely would wonder like at the time what the conversation was like. Why did they think it was
yeah.
maybe foolproof? Because yeah, to me,
Hmm.
I'm like, even if you wanted to, even let's say Tony does say, and honestly, it would be smart to reveal to everybody, hey, look, I have this, because then they have to attempt to flush it, and by doing that, you're literally giving up a free vote. So even flushing
Hmm.
the idol like could put
Exactly.
could put you in like a weird dangerous trouble. But he finds it, and I mean, you know, all power to him. Like that's a big deal to find
Hmm.
it with, you know, the clue was like that it's near camp, which that didn't really seem near camp, by the way. Um, yeah.
By near, they just meant somewhere on the island.
Yeah, dude. And then right after this, Tony has to go he makes this big idol play, but then he goes and makes a big social play in the water where all the girls are contemplating, like, do we turn on
Hmm.
Tony? And it does kind of seem like this
Yeah.
is another key moment because Tony comes in and says, I swear on my wife, I swear on my father, I swear on everything. And he
Hmm.
calms them all down. And Jeffra's the one where I'm like, oh man, Jeffra could flip here. Like
Yeah.
she seems rattled, and when you rattle someone's trust, they do crazy things. Ultimately, he convinces them right there in that moment,
Hmm.
and yeah, I don't know what did you make of that? Was it too
Then
easy?
I thought it was way too easy. At least they didn't show a whole lot, so it definitely seemed super easy. And then you get Jeff or two going right to Jeremiah and the others and saying, "Hey, like I'm not going with you guys tonight." And I don't know if she's trying to get like jury management like this early in the game or what her point of that was, but
Yeah,
because I almost feel like why even tell them at all? Just have them think you're going with them,
yeah.
and then maybe if they want to play something, you can flush something at the same time.
Yeah, I had a weird theory because it was weird when that was happening, and it was so funny. Jeremiah, such a Southern boy, like, oh yeah, okay, cool, yeah, no worries, no worries. And it's like, dude, you're crushed right now. But Cass was standing there awkwardly too, and I kind of
Hmm.
wonder if it was like, Cass, go with, make sure she does say it, because
Mm,
otherwise, because I
could
always
be.
think that it's sketchy when people are like, all right, we're gonna tell Shay and Mike that we're voting for Ferg, but
Hmm.
like we're not really Ferg, don't worry. But then like, because if I'm Ferg, I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, no, don't tell them to vote for me. I don't want
Yeah.
any like. And so Jeffra to just go and be like, hey, look, I'm not voting with you at all. I'm not convincing them to vote
Hmm.
anybody, whatever. I'm just out. And to do it in front of Cass, I don't know, it felt a little mafia to me.
Oh yeah.
Like, dude, make sure the job gets done. Um, yeah, Jeffra cuts ties. And then you see in the water the last little bit, the last Hail Mary from these three, which I don't know if you would
Bro,
tell.
what
I feel like you could, I mean, you would probably say this, is that you would be like, hey, I want to admit something, like I'm a fashion model.
but like why did he think that was like some big like secret to keep from people
Yeah, that's not, because,
in
I
the
mean,
first place?
unless people like would think like, oh, that must mean you're rich. Because I don't know that that means you're
Yeah,
rich.
but like no. And the fact that he's like, yeah, you can Google Jeremiah Wood model and it'll
Yeah,
come
he's
up.
like, Google me. Google me is pretty hilarious.
uh
Good title too for an episode for the episode. Google me.
hey.
Yeah, no, pretty funny. But then it opens the door for Spencer to reveal his probably more valuable
Yeah, which
secret.
I was a little shocked that he'd said that
Yeah,
at that point because like why tell Jeremiah? Because hey, Jeremiah can use that information and then go tell the other side
right.
as a way to keep him in the game longer.
Yeah,
But luckily for him, they didn't tell anybody. So
yeah. And these alliance lines seem pretty clear. And then that really just opened the door for tribal council to be okay.
hmm.
It seems like Spencer might play an idol, and will he play it correctly? And that is kind of how the tribal plays out. But it's a really good tribal, top to bottom. Like,
Hmm. Oh yeah,
um, I don't think this is the one that Survivor just posted. I think that's in a couple episodes.
yeah,
But they must be watching. Shout out. Um, it's crazy because Spencer has a great tribal, almost perfect, near perfect.
hmm,
In a time when Jeff is asking him, like, Jeff tries to pit Spencer and Jeremiah against each other a little bit of why should they vote
yeah,
him, why should you vote him. Interesting, and they're actually pretty cordial about it. But it is funny that you're
hmm,
like being like, oh, I'm not a threat, I'm not a threat. But
yeah,
Spencer does such a great job of taking aim at Tony. And Spencer, what I think and what I was thinking about is, dude, he's the audience. Usually we're sitting there going, how do
hmm,
you not realize? How do you not see it?
yeah.
And Spencer is the one
He
who's
sees
like,
it.
I see it. I see
Oh
it.
yeah,
And I'm surprised that it doesn't happen more to like use your jury vote as like a threat.
hmm,
To be like, dude,
yeah,
I'm going with Tony, by the way. And if you guys don't
for
realize it,
sure.
you're an idiot. Like,
Hmm.
because that
Smart, very smart play.
super smart play, and no one bites for it. Like they all
Hmm.
just go like, no, no.
Crazy.
Like, and maybe the line Spencer needed was, okay, when it's down to 5, who of you is the first to go?
Hmm.
Because that's how we see it shake out. And if you can rattle the people at the bottom and make them figure out who is at the bottom, drive some paranoia, that's when you can separate it. But that wasn't what happened. What do you
Yeah.
make of Spencer's move?
I mean, great move for sure. I mean, I think at that point in the game, that's really all you have to do left. And I think he kind of was also trying to see maybe he'll get somebody to speak up and he can try and see who is on the bottom and who seems more paranoid.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
And he called his shot too. I said it earlier in the season that Tony was, talking about how dominant he was going to be. But Spencer says it here. He's like, dude, Tony has broken his promises and sworn on his kids and broken those promises. He will do it again and again. No one from
Yeah.
Tony's alliance like flips it all. And you could tell
Hmm.
Tony is like a little rattled too. Tony's like, dude, this kid is on to me. And it's a great tribal. It's so, especially between them two, so confrontational, but also just so funny that it feels like Spencer's lines would work, and it's what we're all yelling at the TV, and that just makes for great Survivor. He
Yeah.
says if Tony is in the end, my vote goes to Tony. He has been steering this game, and you all haven't.
Hmm.
Oh, what a
And
bummer.
then Jeremiah joins in with him and says, me too. Like,
Yeah, and Tosh. Yeah, and
yeah,
it should be noted Morgan looking great on the jury, looking great. I mean,
every night
it's great that she made the jury because then it's
for sure.
she's
She
not
had to.
she's not out and it's the jury gets to look great every single episode and that's
Hmm.
a thing that they don't do now. I feel like is all right and
Yeah.
yeah, calling them in one by one. Um,
Hmm.
and another weird thing Tosh says, we can't do Tony tonight because he got upset. And like, I don't know, why not just keep throwing it at Tony? That is such a weird.
Yeah. I think that is a weird thing to say. And I feel like maybe she said it because they were thinking his bag of tricks actually was something.
Yeah.
And so they were like, oh, he's going to play it for himself to save himself or whatever if they go for him.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's interesting. And yeah, he did bring up the bag of tricks again and Spencer calls it out or two. He
Hmm.
knocks it down. He goes, dude, I haven't seen it yet. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know what you're talking about. Um, Pretty wild. And then we get to the votes. And it seems pretty clear and it's a little bit of, man, yeah, where's this idol play? They didn't really lead into, oh,
Hmm.
anyone's gonna flip. It's just where's this idol gonna get
Yeah.
played? And Spencer stands up and he kind of does pump fake a little bit. He he's
Yeah.
looking for a reaction. He walks over, he stops, he looks back. They cut to Jeffra. Jeffra's like, it's not real,
Hmm.
which was interesting. But then
Weird thing to say.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then Spencer gives it to him. Doesn't say anything. Like I feel like now you have to say, "I'm playing it for me, Jeff.
Hmm.
I'm not going home tonight," or "I'm playing it for whatever." He doesn't say anything. Goes back. Jeff says, "This is an immunity idol." Any votes
Hmm.
cast for Spencer will not count. And then Tony throws in a little line while he pulls out his
Yeah.
pouch that maybe looks like an idol. Or maybe is that what
Hmm.
Jeffra says is fake? I think she's talking about Spencer.
No, she was talking about Spencer's for
Yeah.
sure.
So Tony's like holding it, like right, like this is a little bit like a poker player, like starting to play with his chips. Like he's yeah, I might call you here. I might call you here.
Yeah.
And when Spencer plays it on himself, that's when Tony knows, oh, I'm good, because he knows the votes
Yeah.
weren't going to Spencer. And
Hmm.
we see that play out. We see a couple woo votes. Tony doesn't
I
play.
wasn't a fan though of what Tony said. He was like, "Look at the like
Yeah,
little boy or
he
something."
says do you see the
Because at the same time, like,
inexperienced young lad here?
yeah, but
He
at the same time, like, if you're Spencer, you have to make that play if you want to stay in the game.
100%.
Because if you give it to Jeremiah and they vote for you, you're screwed. I mean, you're done.
Yeah. And I mean, I think Spencer has seen a lot
So
of people make dumb mistakes with idols, and I think he's smart enough to be like, dude, I would never forgive myself if I gave this idol up and I went
for
home.
sure,
This is still better than
yeah,
that.
I'm the same way. I mean,
Yeah, this
yeah.
this is still better than giving away your idol and going home. So
Hmm.
it's, to me, it's fine. But yeah, he calls and he does. He's like, he thought we were voting for Jeremy. I think Tony calls him Jeremy. and,
That's
and
yeah.
then I think it cuts to Morgan. Morgan's like, did he say Jeremy? That was a good moment.
I put that down. I mean, because you don't get the jury talking a lot. In this episode, you get more saying, "Who's
Yeah,
Jeremy?"
it is funny when they kind of whisper to each other, and yeah, it's funny because
Yeah.
they can't hear, of course. And then
Hmm.
yeah, Jeremiah goes home. And yeah, it's a good one. He'll be on the jury. We'll hear from him. The final tribal. Jeremiah will be missed. He's fun guy, fun character.
Yeah.
Southern fashion model. I said, wouldn't I don't yeah, I mean, good for him. I wonder if he's still doing
With
it.
the accent and everything.
Accent and everything. I will say there were 5 votes for Jeremiah. One person wrote Jeremiah with a G. Do you want to guess at who it was, or do you know who it was?
I didn't look, but I mean, I would have had to guess that that was Tony.
It was not Tony.
Who
It
was
was
it?
Trish.
Oh, jeez.
Which I thought so too. I was like, oh, that must have been Tony, but yeah, it was Trish. So, there's that little nugget
She's
for
on the
you.
Braun tribe for a reason.
Yeah, true. She is Braun. All right, stock up, stock down. Let's get into it. Start with up.
I mean, I feel like we're both gonna have. I feel like Tony for stock up.
Yeah, I mean that idol's pretty
I feel like
OP,
once again he kind of
and
kind of dominated the episode. Got the super idol.
yeah, yeah, he's Super Tony. I mean, a successful Spy Shack move,
Mm,
a successful social play, yeah, and then he still has it in his pocket. Like, yeah, I don't know. If
mm,
it would have been if this idol went to Jeremiah and if they threw votes at Tony, this could be a different game. But now
yeah.
Tony goes into the final 7 with the 5 majority over 2. That's
Hmm.
power money can't buy. Pretty good. Stock down then. Who do we got?
I went with Spencer. I
I
mean,
did too.
lost his idol, didn't play it correctly.
Lost an
You got
ally.
one other person left.
Yeah.
They'll probably come for you first. I mean, and not looking good for our boy Spencer.
Not looking good. Not looking good. Yeah, it'll. But him and Tosh are 1-1 as the kind of
Hmm.
best people for
Yeah.
immunity. And it is interesting that they went with Jeremiah. Maybe they did just think Spencer had the idol because he had the clue, and so it's just like it's not
Hmm.
worth it.
Yeah.
But Spencer was definitely more of a challenge threat than Jeremiah, so couldn't have
Yeah.
been
Oh, 100%.
challenge threat. And yeah, ultimately a fantastic, which was a great play then to not go Spencer, so that you get rid of the idol. He's my stock down as well. My question for Jeff kind of has to do with how Spencer played for the Survivor press conference, of course.
Mm.
Is kind of a little bit about the pump fake, because I feel I wonder what the standards or practices are, because I've been on, and maybe I've said this before here, but like I've been on like reality TV shows, competition shows, where
Hmm.
you have to like tell everyone, hey, heads down, everyone like eyes closed, heads down,
Hmm.
don't talk, or no one's allowed to talk right now because they're waiting to save a moment for TV, and they don't want the moment to, like, they're trying to create a moment. And
Yeah.
like by pump faking, or by like there have to be certain things like making faces, or even if they tell, I want to know how that works out. Do they tell them, hey, as things
Hmm.
go, don't make faces to give it away, but also they want faces
For sure.
reaction. They want people to be
Yeah.
shocked. So I just wonder how they
Hmm.
tell people, like, hey, if you're going to play an idol, you must stand up, you must walk over to Jeff, you can't do anything else extra, or if they're like kind of do whatever you want. Even live tribals is one that they've
Yeah.
kind of like, I don't know that there are many rules with it. Like, can you just get up, or are there rules?
Hmm.
I think that's the question.
That's a good question. There you go.
Are there rules? Did you have any others for any of the players or anything?
No, that was the one I had. It was about the super idol.
No, yeah. Super Idol was it too strong, and what thought went into it? All right. Well, let's rename the episode. Um, what do you have?
I went with Who's Jeremy?
Who's Jeremy?
That was honestly probably one of my favorite moments of the whole episode.
Shout out Morgan.
Yeah, so I was laughing
Yeah,
audibly when she said that. So
that is funny. I laughed at it too because I heard it. I was like, Jeremy. And then she
he
said it.
says it without hesitation. He doesn't like stop at all in
Yeah.
his sentence.
He doesn't think he's wrong necessarily.
It's such a dad move. Like Chipotle just says the wrong thing every time and
Yeah.
thinks that he's saying it right too.
And in his head he is right, and that's the way
Oh
Tony
yeah.
is. Mine is an idol in a rocket ship, because
Ooh.
I just thought that was funny. He's like, it looks like a rocket ship, and like, and it really did. But like, and
Yeah.
that's where the idol was, and I think that's a big moment for the season, and like. Even like the
Oh
way he
yeah.
like
Big
falls
turning
down
point.
and like crumbles over it, I'm like, dude, hang it in the Louvre. Like, it's what a Survivor image, him
Yeah.
holding the idol. So that's mine. Great episode. Probably
Very good.
2 or 3 episodes left. Been a great season. Gonna be a
Dang.
great ending.
Crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. How do you feel? Where we're at final 7.
I'm excited. I mean, it's kind of gone quick. Like,
Yeah, kind of has. Yeah.
getting me excited for Big Brother starts next week, so I'm getting very excited for that one.
Do you ever watch the like 24-hour feeds or whatever, the 12-hour feeds? That's
No,
where they
I
catch
mean
him.
you get 3 episodes a week anyways. I
Yeah,
feel like that's almost enough.
that's a lot.
It's a lot, dude. It's 3 episodes a week for like 2, 3 months.
Yeah, you got to watch the like
Because
20.
Big Brother ends and it almost leads right into the next Survivor season, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, yeah, dang. Yeah, they think it's gonna be like late September. So we will
Mm,
see Survivor 47. Crazy. 47 or 46? 47.
47.
Crazy, crazy. All right. Well, we'll see you next episode. Thanks so much for tuning
Yeah.
in.